Hello everyone, my name is Jamie Wang, and I would like to thank you all for listening to my presentation. Immigration, the act of moving to another country, has been prominent in the United States of America for centuries. However, mass immigration to the U.S. was arguably more apparent after the Industrial Revolution, when U.S.'s economic successes flourished. During the late 1800s, these new opportunities led immigrants from various Asian countries as well as Europe to leave their native land through immigration stations such as San Francisco's Angel Island and Ellis Island in New York. Even now, immigrants come from all over the world, each with a different experience. Often, immigration is affected by different economic, political, or social issues in one's environment, which are known as push or pull factors. Conflicts within one's native country are push factors, while pull factors are variables that leads one to move to the country of destination. For example, one could face lack of job opportunities, which urges them to move from their native country and immigrate in search of a higher paying job. To what extent could immigration impact someone's life? I have decided to learn more about the process of my father's immigration to America and how it has shaped him to who he is today in order to answer this question. My father's name is Robert, and he was born on January 4th, 1967 in Taipei, Taiwan. In the 1900s, the U.S. formed foreign relations with many Asian countries, along with the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan. However, America ended their foreign relations with Taiwan due to the complications between China and Taiwan existing as two Chinas. After U.S. ended relations with Taiwan, the U.S. and China issued a joint statement that restored normal diplomatic relations. While this occurred, my father immigrated to the U.S. with his parents and his younger sister Lily on October 29, 1979. They first lived in his uncle's house in Chicago for 1 year before moving to California. Robert's father and mother already had stable jobs, which meant they did not necessarily have to immigrate to the U.S. However, due to his father being a loyal member of KMT or the Kuomintang, they moved for political stability, fearing that Communist China will take over Taiwan. The Kuomintang is a nationalist party that governed mainland China up till Chiang Kai-shek lost to the Communist Party. KMT then became the party to govern Taiwan after Chiang Kai-shek and many other members moved from mainland China. So since Robert's father was a member of this party as one of the senior administrators with Taiwan's Food Bureau, tensions from the Vietnam War between US, Soviet Union, Vietnam, and China, as well as China's continuous offers to reunite with Taiwan, was considered dangerous. While his family was deciding whether to immigrate, my father spent his childhood in Taipei. He recalled that in the 70s, Taiwan had newfound economic successes in industrialization. With the urbanization of Taiwan through new construction projects launched by the government, he described the 70s in Taiwan to be more interesting and adventurous than previous decades. The duration and process to immigrate into the U.S. took nearly a decade. His family's application to immigrate was approved in 1977, and by then, South Vietnam had fallen in the hands of communists. Fearing the same would occur in Taiwan, his father finally settled to move in America during 1979. By the time he decided to immigrate, my father turned 12 years old, which was the age Taiwan started to control military service, and Robert almost couldn't leave with his family to the U.S. Fortunately, his father's political connections helped him immigrate to the U.S. safely. During 1979, the U.S. and the rest of the United Nations then replaced Taiwan's seat with Beijing, China, since U.S. and China reestablished their relations. However, America did later sign this Taiwan Relations Act, which allowed the United States to continue maintaining balance with both China and Taiwan. For my father, immigrating to the U.S. was not an issue since he was already used to moving. Robert had moved 5 times during his elementary school years for his father's job promotions. He was very adaptable to new environments, so he did not experience any major culture shocks. His only main concern at the moment was to learn English on the fly. Regarding his family's feelings about immigrating to the U.S., all family members must have thought differently. For his parents, they had anxiety since they had stable jobs within government and state-owned enterprises, but they were going to lose all of those and go to a foreign country and not understand the culture or the language. Even though my father did not experience major culture shocks, he did agree that the school systems in Taiwan and America had different ways to teaching their students. For one, Taiwan schools fit the stereotypical image of Asian schools. The system depended on monthly and standardized test scores, which are ultimately used to determine whether the students will continue his or her studies on the academic route to college or take the vocational route, which was more based on technical training. Since Robert had to move so often, and the school you could attend was mainly reliant on your test scores. My father always had to make sure he scored the highest grades to guarantee he would attend a high-ranking high school in whichever district he lived in. When my father moved to America, he could already see there were differences in the structure of the school system. As a middle schooler, he did not have to take any exams like he did in Taiwan in order to become eligible for high school. But while American school systems were not test-based, Robert still needed to find ways to learn English efficiently to understand the course material. To adapt to American schooling, Robert focused on learning English and learned English rather smoothly since he enjoyed reading and learning already while growing up in Taiwan. After moving from Chicago to San Jose, Robert then went on to attend Homestead High School in Cupertino. As a high school student, Robert did not have many friends, but the friends he did have would play Atari, Dungeons & Dragons, and Radio Shack's TRS-80, which he said probably inspired him to later become an electrical engineering and computer science major in college. Up till his senior year at Homestead, my father was originally set on the idea of becoming a medical doctor. With Taiwan's cultural and social trends, many individuals are often pressured to pursue becoming a medical doctor for stable income. With this in mind, he figured that if he wanted to become a doctor, it would be helpful to take a physiology class to get hands-on experience dissecting fetal pig. Midway into the first semester, his fetal pig had become a completely unrecognizable mess, and even though Robert got top scores on the exams, this experience became painfully obvious for him that if he went on to become a medical doctor, he was looking at a lifetime of malpractice lawsuits. Being the first in his family to apply to college in the U.S., Robert's parents could not offer any guidance since his parents were older immigrants who never went on to grad schools in the U.S. In addition, Taiwan's and U.S.'s procedure to college application were different. College applications in America allow students to choose what they wish to pursue rather than giving majors based off of their tests and grades like in Taiwan. So my father was on his own to choose a new major last minute. And since Homestead High School suffered a severe cut in funding, he had no career counselors to help. And so instead, Robert asked around his friends and last minute chose EECS because he found a lot of his friends were choosing the same major. My father went on to attend UC Berkeley and decided to continue being an EECS major despite the fact he had no previous experience and did not take any classes during high school. During college, Robert's parents then also returned to Taiwan, and by then Taiwan had been experiencing one of the greatest economic booms of all time, which was known as the Taiwan Miracle. During this rapid industrialization, Taiwan became recognized as one of the 4 countries of the Asian tigers as a result of their economic successes. My father said that if he had one life decision he would change, there would be none, since there are really very few irreversible decisions, especially in the US culture, where we believe in second chances and starting over. However, Robert did mention briefly that he would have wanted to take more CS classes during his years at Berkeley because he was so concerned with trying to protect his GPA, and he took more math and E classes instead of CS classes that would have been more useful and interesting. If he had stayed in Taiwan, given his father's position, Robert predicted that he would have become a government official himself, since people in Taiwan traditionally follow in their parents' footsteps and occupations. So without immigrating to the U.S., my father would not have had all the experience he has gained, nor his passion to become a software engineer, and he would have never been open to the idea of becoming one either. In this sense, his story reflects how immigration could have long-lasting benefits and give more freedom of choice. Today, the U.S. still continues their unofficial relations with Taiwan and protects against economic or military pressure from China. My father was fortunate to immigrate with his family through his father's political connections. However, with the complex political climate between China and Taiwan, there is no telling what the future generations of immigrants will face. Thank you for listening to my presentation.